Hi kindergartners, it's so great to see you again. I'm going to read another egg book for us today because this would be the time of year that we would be learning all about our chicks and hatching eggs and about farm animals. Now, last week I read one about Whose Egg, and that was nonfiction because those were real creatures hatching from eggs. This one is definitely going to be fiction, and it says, "The most wonderful egg in the world." And it is by Helm Heine. And it is published by Trumpet Club. Once upon a time, we definitely know it's fiction when it says once upon a time, a long, long time ago, 3 hens were quarreling about which of them was the most beautiful. So quarreling means they were arguing. They were trying to decide who they thought was the most beautiful. Dottie had the most beautiful feathers. Stalky had the most beautiful legs. And Plumie had the most beautiful crest. Since they could not settle their quarrel among themselves, they decided to ask the king for his advice. "What you can do is more important than what you look like," said the king. "Whichever one of you lays the most wonderful egg, I will make into a princess." He went out into the Kingdom Palace Park, followed by all the hens in the kingdom. Look at all those hens following the king. Dottie preened her beautiful feathers before settling herself in the wet grass. It was not long before she cackled, stood up, and stood aside. Everybody was speechless. There lay an egg, snow white, spotless, and perfectly shaped, shimmering like a polished marble. "This is the most perfect egg I have ever seen," said the king. And all the hens nodded. Then it was Stalky's turn. Everybody felt a little sorry for her. They knew she wouldn't be able to lay a more beautiful egg than that. It was impossible. After 10 minutes, Stalky cackled, got up, stretched her legs proudly in the morning sun, and look. The king clapped his hands for joy. There lay an egg of such size and weight that even an ostrich would have been jealous. "This is the biggest egg I have ever seen," cried the king, and all the hens nodded. While they were still nodding, Plumie settled herself carefully on the ground. Everybody felt extremely sorry for her. They knew she could not lay a more perfect or bigger egg. It was unthinkable. She sat there with her eyes down, so they were all imagining what kind of egg could she possibly lay that would be better than the other two. Then, with only a small cackle, she got up to reveal an egg that would be talked about for the next 100 years. This is how we know it's definitely fiction. Take a look at that. An egg shaped like a block. Before them lay a square egg, and we know that's called a cube. Isn't it a 3-dimensional cube? Each side was straight as if drawn with a ruler, and each surface shone in a different color. "This is indeed the most fantastic egg I have ever seen," cried the king, and all the hens nodded. It was impossible to say which egg was the most wonderful, so the king decided that all 3 hens, Dottie, Stalky, and Plumie, should be made princesses. And look, he framed pictures of each of their eggs. And from that day to this, they have been the best of friends, and they have happily gone on laying extraordinary eggs. and they no longer argue about who could be the most beautiful or who could lay the most beautiful eggs, because they were each special, just like you kindergartners. If you have time, maybe you want to draw a fun decorated egg. Maybe it could be a creative one, like in our book it was a cube. Maybe you want to make one that's a cylinder, or maybe you just want to draw a regular shaped egg but decorate it with zigzags or polka dots. You decide, and you could write some words to label it to describe it. And then if you're able to, your families could take a picture of it and email it to me. All right, kindergartners, I love you, and I'll see you again soon.